he painted the most famous face in the world, a small portrait of a woman with a quiet smile. Today, millions of people travel across the planet just to stand in front of it for a few seconds. But here is the strange part. The man who painted it never thought it was finished. He carried that painting with him for years. He touched it, changed it, and kept it close until the day he died. He never gave it away. This man was not only a painter, he was a scientist, an inventor. He designed war machines for one of the most feared men in history. He cut open dead bodies in secret to understand how we are made. He filled thousands of pages with ideas the world was not ready to understand. But he had a secret, a painful secret. The greatest genius in history could almost never finish anything. How can one man know so much, see so much, imagine so much, and still die with most of his dreams incomplete? Stay with me, because by the end of this story, you will understand the beautiful and tragic mind of Leonardo da Vinci. Let's go back in time, to Italy, in the year 1452. A baby boy is born in a small town called Vinci. His name is Leonardo. Leonardo from Vinci. Leonardo da Vinci. But Leonardo is born with a problem. His parents are not married. His father is a rich and respected man, a notary. His mother is a poor peasant woman. And in this time, a child born outside of marriage carries a mark for life. Because of this, young Leonardo cannot go to the best schools. He cannot study at a university. The doors that open for other rich children stay closed for him. The son of an important man, but never fully accepted. And here is the first surprise of our story. This closed door becomes his greatest gift. Because Leonardo cannot learn the official way, he learns his own way. He does not just read what teachers tell him. He looks at the world with his own eyes. He watches birds fly. He watches water move. He watches light fall on the hills. He asks questions that no school was teaching. While other children memorize old books, Leonardo studies the greatest book of all, nature itself. And this habit, this endless curiosity, will make him immortal. But it will also be the seed of his greatest weakness. Keep that in mind. When Leonardo is about 14 years old, his father notices something. The boy can draw, not like a child, like a master. So his father takes him to the city of Florence, the center of art and money in Italy. And he places Leonardo in the workshop of a famous artist named Verrocchio. In this workshop, Leonardo learns everything: how to mix paint, how to work metal, how to sculpt, how to understand light and shadow. He is surrounded by other talented young artists, but Leonardo is different. Even here among the best, he shines brighter. There is a famous story. One day Verrocchio is painting a large picture, and he lets young Leonardo paint just one small angel in the corner. And when Verrocchio sees the finished angel, he is shocked. The student has painted far better than the master. The story says that Verrocchio was so amazed, and maybe so ashamed, that he put down his brush and never painted seriously again. His student had already passed him. But while Leonardo's talent grows, so does a strange problem. A problem that will follow him for his whole life. Here is the strange truth about Leonardo. He starts many things. He finishes very few. His mind moves too fast. He begins a painting, and while he is working, a new idea appears. A question about birds. A question about water. A question about the human body. And suddenly, the painting is forgotten, and he is chasing the new idea. People pay him for paintings. They wait, and many times, The painting never comes. Some customers get angry. Some take back their money. One famous painting he works on for years and simply leaves unfinished. To many people, this looks like failure. A man who cannot keep a promise. A man who wastes his talent. But something deeper is happening inside Leonardo. He does not see a painting as a job to complete. He sees it as a question to explore. And a true question never really ends. For Leonardo, finished is almost impossible because he can always see how to make it better. This is the great contradiction of his life. The same curiosity that makes him a genius also stops him from finishing his work. His gift and his curse are the same thing. And nowhere is this more clear than in what happens next. When Leonardo is about 30 years old, he moves to a powerful city called Milan. And here, his mind explodes in every direction. Yes, he paints, but painting is only a small part of what fills his mind. Leonardo starts to design machines, incredible machines. He draws a flying machine with wings like a bird, hundreds of years before the airplane. He designs a machine that looks like a helicopter. He draws bridges, tools, and devices of every kind. He studies water, light, plants, the movement of the moon. He fills page after page after page, thousands of pages, drawings everywhere. But here is the heartbreaking part. Almost no one sees these pages. Leonardo never publishes them. He keeps these world-changing ideas to himself in private notebooks. The world had a genius who saw the future, and the world had no idea. Now here is something that does not seem to fit. Leonardo is a gentle man. He loves animals so much that he buys caged birds at the market just to set them free. He does not eat meat because he does not want to harm living things. He hates war with all his heart. And yet, Leonardo designs some of the most frightening war machines anyone had ever imagined. Why? Because a genius still needs money. Powerful men did not pay for dreams about birds and light. They paid for weapons. So to survive, Leonardo offered his mind to the lords of war. And he designed terrible things. He drew an armored vehicle covered in metal plates with cannons pointing in every direction. A machine that could roll into battle and fire on all sides. It was, in simple words, a tank. Drawn 400 years before the first real tank existed. He designed a weapon with many barrels that could fire again and again like an early machine gun. He designed giant crossbows and war machines of every kind. And then comes the darkest part. One of the men Leonardo works for is named Cesare Borgia. Borgia is one of the most feared and cruel men in all of Italy, a ruler who takes what he wants by blood and terror. And Leonardo becomes his military engineer, traveling with him, designing his weapons and his fortresses. Imagine the contradiction inside this one man. The same hand that paints a soft, gentle smile also draws machines built to kill. The man who frees birds from cages works for one of the most dangerous men alive. This was Leonardo's quiet pain. To feed his curiosity, to survive, he served war even though he hated it. Even a genius must sometimes make choices that hurt his own heart. But let's return to those secret notebooks. Because they hold another strange mystery, something that confused people for centuries. If you look at Leonardo's writing, you cannot read it, not because it is in another language, but because it is backwards. Leonardo wrote from right to left, with every letter reversed, like writing seen in a mirror. Why did he do this? No one is completely sure. Some say it was to protect his ideas, to keep curious eyes from stealing his work. Some say it was simply easier for him because he was left-handed, and writing this way kept his hand from smudging the ink. Whatever the reason, think about what it means. This was a man whose mind was so private, so different, that even his handwriting was a kind of code. To read the thoughts of Leonardo, you first had to hold them up to a mirror, and that is the perfect image of the man himself, a genius the world could see, but not easily understand. Among these thousands of secret pages, there is one drawing that the whole world knows today. You have seen it, even if you do not know its name. It is a drawing of a man. He stands with his arms and legs spread out inside a circle and a square. It is called the Vitruvian Man. Leonardo was trying to answer an ancient question. Is there a perfect shape to the human body? Are we built with hidden rules, like a building, like a machine? He took the ideas of an old Roman architect named Vitruvius, and he tried to draw the perfect proportions of a human being. But here is the surprising part. Leonardo never made this drawing for the public. He never showed it off. It was just one private page in his notebook, his own quiet attempt to understand how humans are designed. Today, that little private sketch is one of the most famous images on Earth. It is printed on coins, on books, on posters all over the world. A drawing he made just for himself became a symbol of human genius. And to make drawings like this, Leonardo did something that in his time was dark, forbidden, and deeply disturbing. To truly understand the human body, Leonardo did something most people were terrified to do. He cut open the dead. In secret, often at night, Leonardo studied real human bodies. He opened them. He looked inside. He drew the muscles, the bones, the heart, the brain. He wanted to see with his own eyes how a human being is built. In his time, this was shocking. Many people believed it was wrong, even evil, to cut open a body. Leonardo had to do much of his work quietly, away from judging eyes. Some of the bodies he studied were criminals who had been executed. Over his life, he studied more than 30 human bodies. And his drawings were so accurate, so detailed, that doctors would not match them for hundreds of years. He understood the human heart better than the doctors of his own time. But just like everything else, he never published this work. The greatest anatomy drawings in the world sat hidden in his private notebooks, unseen for centuries. Once again, Leonardo saw the future, and once again he kept it to himself. In Milan, Leonardo also creates one of the most famous paintings in history, The Last Supper, a giant painting on the wall of a church showing Jesus and his followers at their final meal. It is a masterpiece. The emotion on every face, the drama of the moment, is like nothing painted before. But Leonardo, being Leonardo, could not just paint it the normal way. The normal way for a wall painting was fast, and he hated working fast. He wanted to work slowly, to change details to make it perfect. So he tried a new experimental technique. And it failed. Almost as soon as it was finished, the painting began to die. The colors started to peel and fade from the wall. Within a few years, the masterpiece was already damaged. Within his own lifetime, Leonardo watched his great work slowly disappear. It is one more painful truth of his life. Even his finished masterpiece could not stay finished. The same hunger to do things differently, to experiment, that made him a genius, also destroyed one of his greatest creations. But the saddest example of all is the one most people have never heard of: the great horse. the ruler of Milan asked Leonardo to build a giant statue, a horse made of bronze, bigger than any statue of its kind in the world. It would be a monument to last forever. Leonardo threw himself into it. He studied real horses for years. He filled notebooks with drawings of their muscles and movement. He designed the largest horse statue ever attempted, and he built a full-size model of it, made of clay, for everyone to see. People were amazed. It was going to be a miracle of art, but the bronze never came. The metal that was saved to build the horse was needed for war, to make cannons. And then war came to Milan, and the enemy soldiers, when they arrived, used Leonardo's giant clay horse for target practice. They destroyed it. 12 years of work, the largest statue of its time, gone, never turned into bronze, never finished. Another impossible dream, lost to the world. And then comes the painting that will become the most famous in the world, the Mona Lisa. It is not a giant painting. It is small. It is a simple portrait of a woman with a soft, mysterious smile. But Leonardo does something with it that he does with almost nothing else. He does not let it go. He works on it slowly, layer after layer, using a special technique that makes the edges soft, like smoke, like a dream. The smile seems to change when you look at it. Is she happy? Is she sad? No one can say for sure, and that mystery is exactly why the world can't look away. Leonardo is asked to deliver this painting, but he does not. He keeps it. He carries it with him for years, from city to city, even to another country. He touches it again and again, always seeing one more thing to improve. He never truly finishes it. He never sells it. He keeps the most famous face in the world for himself until the end of his life. The man who could not finish could also not let go. Now Leonardo is not alone at the top. This is the time of the Renaissance, a golden age of genius in Italy. And there is another giant in the room, a younger, fierce artist named Michelangelo. The two men do not like each other. Michelangelo is religious, intense, and rough. Leonardo is elegant, calm, and curious about everything. They are two kinds of genius, and they clash. There is even a time when both men are asked to paint giant murals on the walls of the same room, facing each other. The two greatest artists alive, in a silent competition. It could have been the greatest art battle in history. But guess what happens? Neither one finishes. Leonardo experiments with a new painting technique, and once again it fails, ruining his work. The great battle ends with two unfinished walls. Even surrounded by rivals, even pushed to compete, Leonardo's pattern repeats. The ideas are endless. The finished work is rare. As Leonardo grows older, the kings and powerful men of Europe begin to understand something. It does not matter how many paintings he finishes. Just to have Leonardo near them, just to talk with his mind, is a treasure. The King of France invites him to live in his country. He gives Leonardo a beautiful house, money, and respect. He does not demand paintings. He simply wants to be close to the greatest mind of the age. People say the king loved to sit and listen to Leonardo talk for hours. By now, Leonardo's right hand is weak. He can no longer paint as he once did. But his mind never stops. He keeps drawing, keeps writing, keeps studying his thousands of pages, trying to organize a lifetime of ideas. And still with him, in that house in France, is a small painting of a woman with a quiet smile. The Mona Lisa, still by his side, still in his eyes, not quite finished. On May 2nd, 1519, Leonardo da Vinci dies in France. He is 67 years old. And here is the painful truth of that moment. By the standards of his time, Leonardo could look like a man who failed to finish. So many unfinished paintings. A giant horse that was never built. Thousands of pages of genius that almost no one had read. But then, something slowly happens. Something beautiful. His notebooks survive. His favorite student keeps them safe. And over the centuries, people begin to open them. And the world starts to understand what it had. The machines he imagined become real. The flying machine, the armored vehicle, the study of the human body. Idea after idea, the world catches up to what Leonardo saw 500 years ago. He was not behind. He was centuries ahead. And that small unfinished portrait, the Mona Lisa, becomes the most famous painting that has ever existed. The man who finished almost nothing created a legacy that will never end. So what is the truth about Leonardo da Vinci? He was not a failure who could not finish. He was a man so full of curiosity, so in love with learning, that one human life was simply too short to hold all his ideas. He teaches us something strange and beautiful, that the value of a mind is not only in what it completes, but in what it dares to imagine. That asking the right question can be just as powerful as giving the answer. That being curious about everything is not a weakness. It is a kind of magic. Leonardo never stopped being a student. Until his very last day, he was still learning, still asking, still amazed by the world. And you? Learning English right now, you're a little like Leonardo. You are curious. You are learning something new step by step, word by word. You are looking at the world and trying to understand it better. Never lose that. Because curiosity, the simple desire to learn, is the same force that lived inside the greatest mind in history. You carry a small piece of the same fire. So tell me, do you think Leonardo was a genius or a dreamer who could never finish? And what would he have created if he had 100 lives instead of one? I read every comment. See you in the next story.